It's me, Jessica McCaskill, WBC, WBA, Super Lightweight Unified Champion of the World. I wanted to give a big shout out to The Relay on YouTube. Check it out. Great boxing talk show. Has all the info that you need. Check it out. The Relay on YouTube.
Motherfucking Relay. We're covering today's top boxing news.
Okay, we'll start with this. Well, Anthony Joshua had this to say. He says, I want to get my revenge. Get titles back. The article reads, there is a rematch clause, which Joshua plans to exercise, and it's very likely to take place in the UK. Listen, it's a loss. The rematch, wherever it takes place, it's in a boxing ring. I want to get my revenge. I'd like to get a win. Get those titles back. I still have my vision and my direction in the sport. That don't change. On to the next, and we'll see if that's Ruiz, Joshua said to BoxingScene.com. He was also quoted as saying, I've always said that I never try to blame the refs, judges, like the team. You know, like people leave the trainers when they lose. I'm not like that. I'm different. The referee done his job. As I've said, if I wanted to carry on, I should have never touched the canvas. I'll bounce back, Joshua said. Ruiz is good at holding him ground, and he can take a shot. Normally, it's boom, 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 and Andy Ruiz should have been gone. But he stayed in there, got his revenge, and became champion. Now, we all saw that Anthony Joshua was gracious as usual, gracious in defeat against Andy Ruiz, and perhaps he was a bit too gracious for some. Nevertheless, that's characteristic of his behavior. You know, he's really not a shit talker. He gave the man his due. Andy Ruiz was the better man on the night of the fight, and there's little more that anyone could say about it, including Anthony Joshua, who was dropped 4 times. You know, there was some legitimate question marks hanging over Anthony Joshua's head as to whether or not he actually has the intestinal fortitude to bounce back. To bounce back like Lennox Lewis bounced back after he was dropped by Oliver McCall, after he was stopped by Hasim Rahman, as to whether or not Anthony Joshua can make the kind of comeback that Lennox Lewis made, that Vladimir Klitschko made after he got beat by Corey Saunders and Lamont Brewster. There are people out there that are wondering, does he have what it takes? And the reality of it all is, it is far too soon to tell. It's only one day. It's only been one day since the fight. We don't know what he intends to do. We don't know if he's going to go right into a rematch with Ruiz or if he's going to decide to take some kind of confidence-building fight against someone else. When you have Eddie Hearn saying things like Joshua is a little bit relieved that he's not under so much pressure anymore, it makes you wonder what kind of headspace is Anthony Joshua actually in, and whether or not this is just him putting on a brave face for the people who came out to support him. Because you know what? The UK was out in full force to back their man, and this was the last thing that they expected. I don't think it's far-fetched to say that maybe Anthony Joshua has a feeling that he owes those people, that he can do better, that he should have done better, for the reception that they constantly give him and the praise and the accolades, that he didn't live up to their expectations, that maybe he didn't do right by his fans. Perhaps that's a passing thought in Anthony Joshua's mind. But in the upcoming weeks and months, the most important question really is, where does he go from here, and what additions can he make to his team? You know, I'm of the opinion,
feel free to disagree,
that it wouldn't hurt Anthony Joshua at all to maybe enlist the help of Jonathan Banks. Jonathan Banks, who was a pupil of the Emanuel Steward School of Thought, School of Boxing. Jonathan Banks, who trains undisputed welterweight champion Cecilia Brækhus and currently trains former unified champion Gennady Golovkin. I'm of the opinion that perhaps with the aid of Jonathan Banks, maybe Anthony Joshua can get some of that old crunk gym knowledge. Because the fact of the matter is, in today's day and age, Jonathan Banks is about as close to Emanuel Steward as you're going to get. And I'm of the opinion that if Emanuel Steward were around today, he could whip Anthony Joshua back into shape and mold him into what is an even more complete fighter. Unfortunately, Manny Stewart passed away a couple of years ago, but he did pour his knowledge, his insights, into Jonathan Banks. And I don't think it would hurt at all for Anthony Joshua to pick up that phone and give that guy a call. Having taken his first professional loss, the rebuilding process and what is the second phase of Anthony Joshua's career that begins. The rebuilding process begins. And I think that, you know what? Perhaps Jonathan Banks might be a good addition to the team. Just one man's opinion. Who knows what they're going to decide to do? It's all in the air. It's too soon to know. But we see the candor. We see what's going on. A lot of people trying to treat this as some kind of quote-unquote I told you so moment. Some kind of I told you so moment. And what I'm wondering most about all these guys that seem to be gloating that Andy Ruiz upset the plans for Anthony Joshua. What I'm wondering is, okay, smarty pants, so how much money did you put on Andy Ruiz? I mean, in all seriousness, if you're going to try to turn this into an I told you so moment, a moment where Joshua's supporters have to eat crow, what I'm wondering is, did you bet on Andy Ruiz? Did you pick him to win? Because unless you did, you're eating crow with the rest of us. This was a monumental upset for a reason, okay? The boxing experts, as they were, didn't see this coming, much less the fans and the YouTubers. Nobody saw this coming. I mean, I'm sure that there might be some outliers, one or two guys who, you know what, they banked on the upset for one reason or another, whether it's to see if the first Mexican heavyweight champion or just for the fact they don't like Anthony Joshua, so they always bet against him. And this time it just happened to work out. For whatever, whatever the case. There's a lot of guys trying to treat this like an I told you so kind of moment, and if your crystal ball is everything you say it is, then I'm sure you cleaned up at the casinos because you would have put your money on Andy Ruiz.
Right.
But unless you picked Andy Ruiz to win this fight, you can kindly shut the fuck up. Because you're eating crow with the rest of us. Most people didn't see this coming with good reason. The world was Anthony Joshua's oyster, and now he must rebuild himself. Big question marks over whether or not he can. It's not the least bit impossible for a fighter to recover from a loss like this. We've seen it many times in the sport of boxing, but the reason there's a question mark is because you just don't know until the opening bell. You don't know what you're gonna get, and that's why I often stress and emphasize on this channel. Opinions mean dick. Predictions mean dick. Counts for nothing. You can say whatever the fuck you want to say before the fight. You can feel however the fuck you want to feel before the fight. But once the opening bell rings, that's the only thing that matters. And what happens thereafter. Because a lot of people felt that Anthony Joshua had what it took to win this fight, myself included.
We see what happened.
But based on those opinions, we were all proven wrong, weren't we?
You was too.
So your opinions, they're no more valid than anyone else's. And this quote-unquote I told you so moment is really only as credible as whatever your prediction was. I saw a lot of people trying to shit on Andy Ruiz. I saw a lot of people trying to call him a bum, a cab driver. And I gather that all those people can't be, those can't be people that have actually seen him fight. Because myself, just me, I said Andy Ruiz is a good fighter. I said mid-range to inside, this guy's dangerous. He's got very quick counters and deceptive power. I didn't think he was going to win the fight, but I certainly didn't write him off as some kind of a slouch, like so many others did. Yet the same guys who were writing him off and calling him a bum are all of a sudden trying to pretend that they told us so.
My ass.
I tell you, you could eat a dick with that bitch shit. Andy Ruiz going in there and upsetting Anthony Joshua is not a win for Deontay Wilder. As bad as you want that to be what it is, that's not what it is. What it really is Andy Ruiz upstaged your boy and a lot of other motherfuckers that got a bigger profile than he does. Luis Ortiz is more known amongst boxing hardcores than Andy Ruiz. Adam Kaunaki, he's been making some rumblings, and he's been more talked about as of late than Andy Ruiz. And lest we forget the pseudo-star of the PBC's heavyweight roster, Deontay Wilder. These are all guys that passed on the same opportunity that Andy Ruiz capitalized on. So his victory is not Wilder's victory, or Kaunaki's, or Luis Ortiz's. Because when they were confronted with the same offer that he got, well, actually it's a little bit different. Because where they were made offers, he actually pursued the fight. He wanted the fight. They didn't. So they don't get no motherfucking credit for the next man's work.
Bitch.
Now put that motherfucking shit in your glass dick and smoke it.
Crackheads.
Because Andy Ruiz beating Anthony Joshua does not equal Deontay Wilder beating Anthony Joshua. When it came down to the come down and it was time to put your John Hancock on the contract, Wilder didn't want to do that a couple of times. And you can't rewrite history. This is not a time machine. Andy Ruiz beating Anthony Joshua does not change that Deontay Wilder and his team stalled this fight out because they didn't want to take a chance. They really didn't want to shoot their shot at Anthony Joshua. And it's not rewritten, it's not all undone because some other motherfucker came into the picture and got to him first.
Sorry.
You guys are giving Deontay Wilder credit for what Andy Ruiz did. How fucking morbid is that? That's like if me and you like the same bitch, but I shoot my shot and you don't. So when I go bust a nut, you're patting yourself on the back? I mean, whatever. If that makes you feel better. I'll tell you, this the same exact shit that Wilder's fans did the night that Tyson Fury unseated Vladimir Klitschko for the WBA, WBO, IBF, Ring Magazine, and lineal heavyweight titles. It's the same fucking shit they did, I swear to God. I got videos. I got a video. I'm going to leave the link to that video in the description. And then, like now, it had to be addressed that these guys are trying to give Deontay Wilder credit for something that somebody else did. We all know that Shelly Finkel did not want to put Deontay Wilder in there with Vladimir Klitschko, and that's out of the horse's own fucking mouth, okay? It's not my opinion. It's not conjecture. It's not candor. It's not rhetoric. It's a fact. He didn't want to put him in there because Wilder was a baby champion. So why does the baby champion get credit for what Tyson Fury decided to do? How does the baby champion get credit for what Andy Ruiz decided to do? You guys are always trying to give this guy credit for shit he doesn't do, and that's why he doesn't get any respect. And he's not about to, because what was the biggest heavyweight title fight of our time, of our era, the biggest heavyweight fight that we've seen in years, what could have been, anyway, is all but gone. Because this guy chose to sit on his hands and wait and let the other guy do all the fucking work. So that what? So that your dumbass fans could try to give you the credit as if that was you that went in there? My fucking ass. All the credit goes to Andy fucking Ruiz. All the credit. And that's why he's already, if you look at BoxRec, they've already got him ranked at number 1. He's already ranked at number 1. Ring Magazine, ESPN, Transnational are sure to follow because it just so happens that Anthony Joshua was the consensus across the board number 1 heavyweight in the weight class. Well, Andy beating him, that makes him number 1. And Wilder, well, he's still number 2, playing second fiddle as usual because he lacks the courage.
No courage.
That a guy like Andy Ruiz has. Andy Ruiz was willing to pull it all on the line. Guy acting like he's got nothing to lose. Fuck it, I'll fight him. I'll step in. I'll do it. Whereas you could offer Wilder $100 million fucking dollars, that's still not enough.
Sheesh.
The fuck's it take to get that guy in the ring? I know, a guy pushing 40 who he beat already, that'll get him in the ring. You know that Wilder, in his tactless fashion, decided to rib Anthony Joshua, kick the guy when he was down. He wasn't as gracious as Tyson Fury was with his words post-fight in regards to the crushing loss. He says that Anthony Joshua wasn't a true champion, that his career consisted of lies and contradictions.
Is that right?
And you're entitled to feel whatever you want to feel about Anthony Joshua. Every single human being that has an opinion is entitled to it, regardless of what it is. Some people feel that, Anthony Joshua got exposed and he got humiliated. Other people, they don't write him off as easily because in the sport of boxing, a loss is always around the corner. And the question really is, how do you deal with that loss? Because even one of the greatest boxers, if not the greatest heavyweight the sport has ever known, he took a loss. He took a loss to Joe Frazier, turned right the fuck around and beat George Foreman, the guy that beat Joe Frazier. It all depends on how you want to look at it. I'll tell you that if you've been around this sport enough or followed it long enough, a loss isn't the end of the world. It doesn't have to be. Tevin Farmer's got, 3-4 losses. He stands as a world champion today. Bernard Hopkins lost his first professional fight, but look at what he went on to do. Canelo Alvarez was humiliated by Floyd Mayweather, turned around and got better for it. So a loss is only as bad as you make it. But for Deontay Wilder, the guy who chose to put this fight on the back burner, the guy who not but 2 weeks ago was asking you guys to wait and please be patient because the head's not meant to be hit. You remember that line of bullshit? You chose to put that fight on the back burner. Now it's almost like you want to get the credit for what the next man decided to do. It's tactless, it's tacky, it's spineless, and it's no less than I expect from the baby champion who was 7 years into his pro career holding a world title but wasn't yet ready to face Vladimir Klitschko. It's no less than I expect. Ladies and gentlemen, there's something to be said about the morbidity of not only Deontay Wilder, but his fans. I'll tell you, it's a bizarre phenomenon that Wilder's fans seem elated that what was the king of the division, the consensus number 1, ranked at number 1 by ESPN, BoxRec, Transnational, and Ring Magazine. They seem elated that someone has come along and beaten Anthony Joshua, unseated him, dethroned him. And I'm thinking to myself, if you guys actually had as much faith in Deontay Wilder as you let on, then why would someone else beating Anthony Joshua be cause for celebration? You guys should be pissed that he's not the one that did it. But that's just it. They never wanted to run those risks any more than he wanted to run those risks. They are breathing a sigh of relief that the pressure is no longer on Deontay Wilder that was building and building as he further attempted to stall this fight. And I reiterate that this is not going to rewrite history. This doesn't change everything that Deontay Wilder did or didn't do and everything that he said. That you didn't want this fight, but Andy did. So Andy's now the number one guy, and you're still playing second fiddle how you've been playing second fiddle since the beginning of your pro career. You're always going to be in the background because those guys are protecting you. They don't want to let you take chances. That's the truth of it. And that's why, after everything is said and done, Deontay Wilder's still number 2. The fuck you think? That somebody else comes along and beats this guy and they're going to put you at number 1? Is that how you're trying to get there? Is that how you mean to occupy the number 1 spot? By letting somebody else come along and take the chances, take the risks?
And do all the work?
Some bitch shit if I ever seen it. I'll tell you the truth in regards to this entire situation, this entire fiasco that has shocked the boxing world and will reverberate throughout the boxing world for years to come as a cautionary tale of what happens when you don't strike while the iron is hot. This is a missed opportunity for Deontay Wilder and his fans, even if they don't yet realize it. That could have been him. He could have made history, he could have become the undisputed champion. It could have been him. But under the counsel of those who were looking out for themselves and their partnered networks, he decided to let someone else do the job that was intended for him. Maybe he would have won. Maybe he would have lost. We'll never know. These fights are going to go how they're going to go regardless of what we think before the fight. Whatever's going to happen is going to happen. Whether he's going to win or he's going to lose. But now, the fight has lost all its luster. It's lost all its prestige. This fight, if it goes down, and who knows if it ever will, if Joshua actually can build himself back up to where he becomes a major player yet again. But if he does,
It's not the same.
It's not going to be what it was. 2 undefeated champions laying it all on the line against each other from opposite parts of the Atlantic Ocean. I mean, it had all the ingredients to be something special, something epic. And for Anthony Joshua to go out there and lose as arbitrarily as he did.
And that is on him.
It just makes Deontay Wilder look that much more bad for having not been the one to do it.